Welcome to the House of Fandom. I'm your host, Clark, on the check-in. We are back for another exciting episode. The first episode of 2022 of the new year. So to all the listeners out there, Happy New Year. And have a safe and healthy one for the remainder of the year. And I'm joined by my two co-hosts with the most hosts. Let's start it off with my man, all the way up in the frozen tundra, Minneapolis. I don't know how to say it, but anyway, what's up? How you doing, Spike? Happy New Year to you. Another episode of the new year, a first. What's up?
Hey, man. What's up, fellas? Listen, you're absolutely right, man. I'm freezing my nads off up here in lovely Minnesota. It's 19 below zero right now. So just trying to stay warm. Happy New Year to everybody out there. It's good to see you guys and be back for a fresh year.
Absolutely, man.
Got going on today.
It's going to be a great year, too. I mean, listen, we just not even a few weeks before the holidays began, we started talking about, hey, we're trying to get to 300. Well, we're at 321, so want to thank all the new subscribers to the House of Fandom. We appreciate you finding us, and we will not disappoint you because we're all about everything in the fandom world. And speaking of fandom world, how could we forget the one and only, the master of disguise, the guy who went out over the holidays. He asked Santa for a brand new mic, a good mic though. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a Hulk, but we do have a Tank. Happy New Year, Tank. What's up?
What's going on, fellas? Happy New Year as well. And actually, just looking, we're actually at 322. So look, we got somebody got a new one in there.
Oh well, look at that! Hey, for that's the person that just subscribed. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and thanks for noticing that, Tank. How was your New Year?
It was good. It was good. I didn't do it. I just chilled at the house. I tried to do the Avengers Endgame sync where Iron Man snapped at midnight. I was off by 5 seconds.
Oh my goodness!
I was so mad.
So you didn't do. So you didn't go out to the clubs. You didn't go out. You don't go clubbing or nothing. You know, cut a rug or anything like that.
I'm not as old as you guys, but I'm too old for that.
All right, fine. So you hung out at home. Were you by yourself at least? Did you ring in the new year with anybody?
I was by myself. My lady, she's not feeling well, so I wasn't able to be with her.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully she'll be on the mend and feeling much better for the new year. So anyway, before we get started, let me just say I want to give a shout out to my own Uncle Junior, Uncle Hector Jr. He is out in New York City, and he is celebrating a birthday today on the Three Kings Day. For those of you that follow that, it's Three Kings Day today, I believe it is, right? The 6th? Yep. So
I don't know about Three Kings Day, but it's the 6th.
Yeah, but anyway, happy birthday! Hopefully, I got it right. I'm pretty sure today is. Listen, Cliff Bravo, I know you're out there. You're Catholic. Can you tell me, is it Three Kings Day or what?
Happy birthday, Uncle Hector.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Uncle Junior. He's actually coming. Hey, Uncle Junior's actually coming to visit me, so I'm excited to have him come out. He may actually be in the background for my next episode. You never know. But that'll be pretty cool. What's up, Vic Vega? I see you. There's my other uncles out there too. Uncle John's out there. What's up? But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk out. Listen, after Spider-Man and all the hype and the blockbuster, numbers that have coming out, like really in the top 5 of all time, probably going to land right there at number 2, or number 3, right behind The Force Awakens, as well as Endgame. But I mean, sensational numbers. We had a great review of Spider-Man. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, absolutely, please do so. I did get confirmations that it is Three Kings Day and it is Uncle John's birthday. So I'm glad we were able to wish him a happy birthday, and I got it right this time. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, especially our main topic with the House of Boba Fett. Is it the House of Boba Fett or the club?
Book of Boba
The
Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. Okay, I
How are
digress.
you the Star Wars?
I know. Listen.
I don't know.
I am. But listen. I'm so excited. I'm forgetting stuff.
Literally right behind you.
Listen, I'm literally I'm forgetting stuff because I'm so excited. Right? I am excited about talking about this show, but I also get excited to talk about a little thing that we call. Fandom news, because man, there was a ton of fandom news that came out over the holiday break. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand it over to my man Tank, and he's going to talk us through all of the fandom news for you.
Dig in that bag.
All right. First item in the fandom news bag is the latest trailer of the Batman movie. I think it's titled Bat and the Cat.
Nice.
Hold on, what movie?
The Batman.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Huh?
You know what you heard me.
I did. I'm getting feedback. What movie?
Oh, Lord.
You heard me. The
Is it
Batman.
Superman? Batman. Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
for those of you,
Going over your shoulder.
The 1900 Batman movie.
Exactly. The 1900 reboot. But for those of you that are joining or who may not know this, but we do have our resident Batman extraordinaire connoisseur, Spike. So we already know that he's super excited about watching this. You like the way I put that? Super excited, Tank? All right, well, let's check it out, man, and then let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Batman Bat-Cat trailer. Here we go. Yeah, that's what they're calling it, the Bat, the Cat.
Bruce Wayne.
They should have said the Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin.
I wouldn't be bothering you here, but your people keep telling me you're unavailable. You know, you really could be doing more for this city. Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
This fucking movie looks insane.
Killer left this for the Batman. Why is he writing to you?
I mean, I don't think it's going to do Spider-Man numbers, but I think it's going to do really well because it's a lot more darker, you know?
Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes.
Right.
If we don't stand up, no one will.
You got a lot of cats.
I have a thing about strays. The Bat and the Cat. It's got a nice ring.
You a new friend of yours? I'm not so sure.
I'm just here to unmask the truth about this cesspool we call a
I
city.
do like
You're part of
the way the
this too.
cityscape is presented. It's got a very
my
Blade
part of this.
Runner-esque feel to it.
Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
Bruce Wayne.
All these years, you lied to me, Alfred. We all have our scars, Bruce.
You're still a Wayne.
He's involved in this? No, he's not involved.
How do you know? He's a vigilante! Who are you under there? What are you hiding?
Selena, don't throw your life away.
Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind. But when it's denied, it's through violence you may find.
Justice. The answer's justice.
Come on, vengeance. Let's get into some trouble.
We are back, gentlemen, and Tank, I'm just gonna have you. Well, actually, you know what? I can't. I'm gonna have to. Let me defer. To the distinguished gentleman up on the left hand of your screen, Mr. Spike. Talk to us. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously, this really is expanding from what we've seen maybe before in previous trailers, but there's a lot more to unpack here. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, guys. I muted myself a little bit. You're absolutely right. There's a lot more to unpack from what you're used to seeing with Batman on screen. It looks pretty good. As I mentioned to you guys before, prior to the show, I'm trying to reserve judgment and excitement a little bit here. I don't want to be let down, but I have to say with each release of each trailer, the movie looks very exciting. I'm one of those typical guys. I like explosions. I like gunfire. I like to see wrecked cars and things of that nature. I fall into that whole little moniker there, but it looks like they have a darker side of Batman than what a person like myself would like to see. I'm a little bit leery about, I'm just going to call him Edward because I can never remember his name. I'm a little leery about Edward as Bruce Wayne. The haircut just doesn't do it for me. I understand this is young Bruce and he's not smooth yet, but he might be able to hold this down okay, especially if there's limited Bruce Wayne in the movie. If we see a lot more Batman, I'm cool with it. And, I'm digging Zoe Kravitz, man. She looks great as Catwoman. She fits the suit well. Doesn't look stiff, moves around very well. The fighting looks good, and she exudes the sex appeal that Catwoman has. That's what I'm seeing so far. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think this different take on Batman is going to be something new for us to see, and people will be excited about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I didn't realize, but we had a hot mic while the trailer was playing, so kind of overheard when I said there was a very Blade Runner-esque feel to it as far as the look of the city and everything. And so, I definitely am feeling that vibe, that dark, decaying, Gotham City feel. I think so. I mean, listen. It's Batman. It's not, Superman, or it's not Captain America. You know what I mean? And so I think you need to play to, you got to play to the strengths of the character and not try to mess with it. I really get annoyed when we get these filmmakers that come in and try to change things up on the character when the character, the roots are embedded, the foundation embedded in the comics, And so this looks really good. I know Cliff Bravo stating that they're concerned that he's going to make a terrible Bruce Wayne. He's worried that he may not be convincing as a Bruce Wayne. Yeah, and here's what I think on this, and I'm gonna throw it to Tank after. But my thoughts are, okay, he's a younger Bruce Wayne. Okay, so we can't say he's refined. We can't say, well, why does he have long hair? He's a younger Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was always a rebel. I mean, come on, he was his mind was completely fractured, and he was tormented from the death of his parents. But Tank, what are your initial thoughts, obviously being a Superman connoisseur like myself, when you see this, do you think more of the same, or do you think, well, this looks like maybe a different and fresh perspective going to the Dark Knight detective, phase of Batman?
It's definitely not more of the same. It's definitely like they're going, definitely a different, darker role, because even though the Dark Knight, it wasn't as dark as this looked like it's going to be, because that was one thing, I know you said that you don't think it's going to be a good Bruce Wayne. That was one thing, as much as I didn't like Bale's Batman, his Bruce Wayne, he kind of had a good dynamic between Bruce and Batman, because he played off that billionaire playboy role as Bruce Wayne well. Then he also was Batman. This one, I said he's just going to be. I jokingly call him emo Bruce, and I feel like that's what we're going to get. I agree with Spike. I don't like the hair at all. In Batman Begins, his hair was like that when he was training.
Right.
Then when he came back home, he changed it, to what a billionaire's hair would look like. So hopefully, his hair is only like this in this movie, and then in the sequels, if we get another one, which I'm pretty sure we will, they changed it to where it's more, classic Bruce Wayne. One thing I do hope is that they go the Spider-Man route, and we've seen it many times. We know what happens to Martha and John, Thomas Wayne. We don't need to see 15, 20 minutes of them getting shot and killed again. Just skip that part. Just move on.
Yeah, that's a great point. I totally agree. You got the last word, Spike. Your final thoughts on our takes.
Okay, so basically what we're looking at is, I agree with you guys. I just think that in the movie you should probably see a part of Bruce developing. Hopefully not a lot about Martha and Thomas, like Tank said. I think that overall it'll be a good movie. I think if we set our expectations to just kind of forget what we've seen, which is what I'm trying to do, and just take it as something new, we'll enjoy it. I think so.
Gotcha. Okay, well that sounds good. What else you got in that fandom bag, Tank?
All right, next we got unfortunately we only have one trailer this week. We're going to go into a few stories here. First I'm going to switch gears to Sony/Marvel with the movie Morbius was delayed until April 1st, 2022.
Yeah. What are you? Okay, so what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
The obvious, first thought people have is that it's COVID related, which I don't really think that's the reason. It might be part of the reason because, everything is kind of spiking, but that's a long time for it to be extended. They also could be, and also even if they didn't because they didn't want to compete with Spider-Man No Way Home, that still is a long time. I honestly think, and there's also a few theories going on that they're possibly adding Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, or even maybe or also Tom Hardy's Venom, where there's going to be like a cut scene or something added in to it.
I think that's a very interesting theory, and I kind of think to myself that I think Sony kind of understanding what they have in front of them, you know what I mean, like the possibilities. I also think that perhaps they may be doing some reshoots. I'm going with that running theory. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes, reshoots.
Yeah. Reshoots?
Get the Spider-Man in Morbius? There. Make some cameos, maybe do a multiverse, thing, because it's already looks like they were kind of alluding to it with Venom and et cetera. Do you think that they're doing that, or do you think that this is truly COVID related?
I think that it might be COVID related, and you also with the spike. I mean, for those out there, I just got a booster shot about a week ago, right? And when I went to go get her, the pharmacist told me that the numbers were like a 500% increase, which I hadn't realized was that high. You would probably want to push back to give it a chance to do well, as opposed to a lot of people not turning out because of the numbers jumping up. I can't see the reshoots, man. I can't see the reshoots where you would do that. Morbius is garnering a lot of good attention right now. People are excited about it. I wouldn't want to piggyback or lean on Spider-Man if I didn't have to. Let him float on his own. And I think Sony's kind of seeing that. And you don't want to, I don't know. I don't think they want to set the expectation that you would need another character to help carry this movie. So I think it's COVID, me personally. I don't know about you, Tank.
I think it is them adding Garfield Spider-Man to it, because they've already, they have Marvel and Sony have this deal with Spider-Man. They already introduced the multiverse and showed it that they're there. Especially with all the rumors of them trying to get another Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. Like maybe, and that was one of the criticisms that people have had about Sony and making all these movies about Spider-Man related centric villains or anti-heroes. But then no Spider-Man over on Sony, so this might be their way to appease those criticisms and put in Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, especially with how it's been around the board that he was the breakout star of No Way Home.
No doubt. I mean, you make a good point, man, and I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with it. Clark, these are your people. You're the numbers guy. You see dollar signs just like these executives. I just think Andrew did enough in that movie for any doubters to carry a movie all on his own. You won't need to put him with anybody else. You don't even need a cameo. You could make a great movie. And to your point, Tank, you mentioned this before, a film or a miniseries about that dark period that he expressed in the film would be absolutely amazing. So I don't know. I mean, but you're almost never wrong with these things. I hate that you're probably right.
I mean,
I'm just hoping that you are, because I don't want to see
I
that
think
stuff
we're
too
going to
much.
definitely see. I mean, listen, it's going to go down in history as one of the biggest money makers of all time. Even though they even had to split a little bit of the portion, I think 25% with Disney. Sony is said to be making and clearing close to 700 million net. So like after they pay everybody off, everybody gets broken off, all of the payments and the delays, all that stuff, all of it, they're going to make 700 million. Sony was so smart not to take the offer of, I believe it was close to $5 billion from Disney to buy outright Spider-Man. They have so much rich characters that they can explore if they do it right. And I think they're starting to realize they got to trust and they got to be in bed with Marvel Disney in order for that to happen. And then they can still do what they're doing, but it's a win-win situation for both studios, in my opinion. An example of that, gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but when Titanic came out, Titanic was actually co-produced by Paramount Pictures, okay? That was the first one, and 20th Century Fox. Okay, so Paramount and 20th Century Fox, they actually literally they went ahead and they co-produced, co-financed. We're talking about, I mean, at least $300 million. You know what I'm saying? So, I think the big thing on that is you got to be able to make sure that you can, without a doubt, make money off the character, and I think that's what they're doing. They're going to keep it the way it is. You know what I mean? Tank, I don't think they're going to, and Spike, they're not going to do it. I know that's just my whole theories on that. But yeah, Spike, you're good to go. Tank, you want to move on to the next topic, which I'm pretty excited about. I've been talking about it early on when they had some doubters, especially within my co-host team. But talk to us about the next topic.
On the next topic we got here is actually a little bit of a Thor Love and Thunder leaks. First, we got Tessa Thompson actually just full on posted the picture of her in her new Valkyrie suit, and then we have some artwork of Thor and Lady Thor.
So all right. So I'm displaying the artwork right now. So this is obviously the final designs for the movie. We haven't seen anything substantial from the set or anything like that. I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the look of what are they calling her? Is it? Was
She's like a lady. She'll probably they'll probably call her like, because in the comic she was like, in the comic when Jane Foster becomes Thor, she's just Thor. But then like all the fans and everything called her like either Lady Thor or Female Thor. So her name, I don't know what they're going to. I don't know what Marvel with the MCU was going to name her. But her comic book name is like Lady Thor.
Yeah, I mean that looks really cool. And then listen, looking at Thor's look, I'm really digging it, man. I'm kind of weirdly getting this whole, like, I'm a little thrown off with the purple vibe, like the dark blue jeans, like almost purple Thanos vibe. Are you getting that too? It's kind of weird, man. What do you think? I mean, you notice that?
I hadn't thought about it until you said it, but yeah.
Right? I'm getting like Thanos I'm getting Thanos vibes from this. But I mean, listen, obviously this is the conceptual art. When we see the final product on screen, I'm sure they'll make adjustments and little tweaks in there. But man, I'm super excited for Love and Thunder. It's gonna be really, really a great addition to the Marvel universe. It's kind of like, I love the director. What's his name? I always screw up his name. Yeah, but he's a great actor too. I like him in the films that he's been in, in the Marvel universe. But man, for sure, this is going to be good. Now, related to Thor, what else was revealed recently for Thor: Love and Thunder?
As I said before, Tessa Thompson, who plays Valkyrie, she actually just posted a picture of her in her new suit. So it's an actual picture.
Yeah. So I'm looking at that right now, and that looks pretty cool. And I just love her look. I always loved her look from the beginning. I really, really think that that whole look that they have for her, as far as for Love and Thunder, I think it just it enhances the look that I thought they nailed it. When they first introduced us to her in was it Thunder Rock? Ragnarok. Did I say Thunder Rock? But yeah, man, and so Vic Vega saying he hopes that Better Ray Bill pops up. Was he from Thor at all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a Thor.
Oh, the Rock guy, right? Is that who we're thinking of?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Someone else, right? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, someone else. Yeah.
Okay. See, Vic Vega.
He was. If you remember Ragnarok, he was one of the heads.
Oh, okay.
And Sakaar, he's on the big building. He was one of the heads on there.
Gotcha. I know Vic Vega from the Comic Book Trap House is our resident comic book expert. So of course, he would know from. I guess this goes from the comic book, days as well from this. So yeah, so that'll be very interesting. I did say Thunder Rock HB2N, but yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
I really like the suit because at the end of Endgame, she became the queen of Asgard since Thor left, and he named her queen. Right. So it's like it looks like she got a upgraded suit.
She got a glow up, bro. She got a glow up.
Her queen status.
Yes, she definitely got a glow up. Vic Vega says no, he's like Thor, but with a horse face. And then him and Thor are close buddies. I did not know that. Were you aware of that?
That's accurate.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll be interesting if they if he ends up coming in, but yeah, no, good. Listen, good stuff there. Thor Ragnarok is coming out this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know exactly what date. I don't know if they released the date, or I know it's later in the year, like either mid-year or later in the year. Right. It's coming out. Yeah, that'll be. I'm stoked about it. That's gonna be great. I think the whole cast of people. Christian Bale's gonna be in it. I don't know if the audience knows this, but he's gonna be the villain, right? Yeah, because someone put it in Vic Vega put it in the chat. He's playing a character called Gore the God Butcher.
Oh, okay. So that's going to be interesting. Now, is he I guess part of that whole like comic book lore, like from the comic books, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that'll be exciting. That's definitely something we're going to be looking at, and once it comes out, we'll track it as well. What else you got in the fandom bag, good sir?
All right, last bit of fandom news here. We got Zod and Feora, and actually the actor is Michael Shannon, who played Zod. I do not know the young lady's name who played Feora. They have been added to the Flash film. So, okay, I want to talk about this a little bit. I want to unpeel this onion because there is a lot of information out there. And here's the thing. You got to take some of the stuff that people are saying with a grain of salt, okay? So for those of you that are tuning in or listening to us right now, we are talking about the Flash movie that's coming out. That's the whole DC multiverse Flashpoint. It's based loosely on Flashpoint. And it's actually going to star Michael Keaton is returning for the first time for over 300 years. Did I say 300 years? Yeah. Oh, okay. You are back, Spike. I just want to make sure. I heard that you had to leave us for a moment, but before I put you on, I wanted to make sure you were available. So if you want, I can go ahead and beam you up, Scotty. All right. Let's see.
To the Flashpoint. Thank you for your patience, guys. Team, listeners, appreciate you.
So, with Flash, and I again, I lost my train of thought here, but with Flash, what I was trying. Keaton, right?
You said
it's been like
Keaton,
over
300 years.
All right. It was 1992 this time. All right. I was getting distracted. Okay, and but here's the thing: Michael Keaton, I believe, is now the new Luke Cage. I'm sorry. He is the of the DC universe. What Samuel L. Jackson's character was in the Marvel universe, as far as bringing all the Avengers, together, and so Nick Fury. Yes, I
mean
apologize for my misstep on the name there. But Flashpoint here, what we're hearing in the rumors is that they're going to completely reboot the whole DC universe and wipe out the whole Snyder thing. And I think here's what I think, and then I'll ask you guys your opinion on it. I think, one, I do not think they had a test screening. It's way too early for that, from what my sources have said, and these are reliable sources through Variety and Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, that it's still being completing post-production work, which is special effects, and they haven't even locked the film yet. So why would a film that's not going to be out until the later part of the year, I believe November of this year, why would they even have a test screening so soon? It's not going to happen. I think that it's just a lot of people spreading misinformation. Now, here's the thing. People were getting real grimy about it because they felt like, oh, you're getting rid of Ben Affleck, you're getting rid of, the whole multiverse. But here's what I have to say to that, and why I think this is an incorrect, or maybe at least not completely put in the proper context. And I want your feedback, guys. There's going to be another Aquaman movie, which is scheduled to be released. He will still be part of it. There will be another Wonder Woman movie. So I do not believe that they are going to wipe out that universe, because then that would mean that they would have to wipe out those folks as well. You understand what I'm saying? If they're doing it the way the Flashpoint, film, series, the comics series was. But Spike, what are your thoughts on this with regards to the rumors about the whole reboot of the DC universe?
With the way that Warner Brothers manipulates and moves around, I wouldn't put anything past them, to be honest with you. It's horrible, but this is a reason why I feel like at times a fan of something, we'll just say this, being a fan of the characters or the comics and respecting that plays a huge role in how to present the material to fans out in the audience, whether that's animation, whether it's live action films, toys, whatever the case may be, appearances, comics, so on and so forth. And Warner Brothers has proven time and time again that they honestly don't care about us. Whoever these people are that are greenlighting these moves, well, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me one bit for them to get rid of all of these people, these characters, or even, remove them and build a new universe so that they can cast somebody else and just go after whatever. You made a joke earlier, but you were absolutely right. They will continue to milk Batman until nobody goes to see it. They'll just keep making those movies because all they care about is the dollar. And you're seeing the difference between them with Disney has been able to do with Marvel, and even Marvel prior to Disney's acquiring them, where they built a solid fan base and put out a good product for their fans and people who weren't even interested in them beyond. Whereas in what we see with Warner Brothers, who's had Batman forever,
no pun intended,
and some of these other films and characters and what they're doing to
get it, Batman forever.
I mean, seriously. You silly. I got you. Yeah. They keep, to that point, think about it. When they kept changing the Batman around, even though they knew the movies weren't doing well, they just, whatever they want to do with it. And so they're running around and damaging a brand that is Batman's over 80 years old, man. It's ridiculous what they're able to do. And the same thing with Superman, so I wouldn't put it past them. I know I'm a little long-winded. I'm sorry, but I absolutely would not put it past them, bro. I think that they would absolutely do something horrendous like this and cause a huge problem.
All the points you bring up are accurate, but I do have to say, in fairness, right now, Warner Media is in the middle of complete overhaul. They're going to be sold. AT&T bought them out, and they're going to be sold to Discovery. Okay, so it'll be Warner Discovery or something along those lines. So that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be changed. But here's why I think it's a good thing. It's going to be people that make content. And so it's not like it went to AT&T, and that's where all the cluster fudge happened. Okay, guys? It got totally worse, right?
It got worse.
Accumulating in the terrible Justice League, the first one that we got before they rectified it with the Zack Snyder Justice League. But totally messed it up. I agree with you. With Marvel and Disney and Kevin Feige or Fiji, he has done an amazing job with the Marvel universe and really doing a lot of the justice to the fans. However, there are cracks in the armor, which I'm sure we'll talk about down the road. But, most recently, a lot of the DC Plus content, some of it has been you know what I mean? Or a mixed bag, you know what I mean? And so, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all kind of pans out. But Tank, what are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts on this? Do you believe, I know that you originally broke the story to me and I had to go and check with my sources in Hollywood. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that there's any validity to it? Do you think that maybe, someone with trying to get clout threw this out there saying that there was a test screening? Do you believe that there was a test screening, or do you think it's more of a, hey, it's the Flashpoint storyline, so they're just picking up on that?
I don't think there's any validity to it. Like, I don't think I don't honestly think that has been mentioned or talked about or discussed. But kind of the same, what Spike said, I could see them. That's why I showed it. That's why I was mad about it, because I could see Warner Brothers doing that.
Right. Well, we know that they've done.
Like I said, I don't honestly, especially, and then the points you made, about Aquaman 2 being out there and Wonder Woman, those are good points that that shows that they're not
still
going
in the same universe.
Yeah, they're not going to completely just get rid of that. But I could, like I said, I could see Warner Brothers doing that, because especially with the massive disrespect they keep showing my boy Henry Cavill.
Right. Yeah, that was listen, I'm going to say this much too.
Exactly.
You broke that they were bringing back Zod, Michael Shannon, and Feora, the two characters from the Man of Steel, into this Flash movie. For those of you that don't know that, we're breaking that news here. What implications does that have? The casting of those two characters with a possibility of Henry Cavill reprising his Superman role for perhaps one last time, just like Ben Affleck. What are your thoughts there?
In the words of MJ and Spider-Man, I expect disappointment, so I won't be disappointed.
Okay.
Once you keep expecting that Henry Cavill is not going to be back in this movie, it's not going to make a cameo, I would jump up. I've never done a flip in my life. I would jump up in that movie theater and do a flip if he shows up on that screen. Most I think it is because, especially since this movie is going to be dealing with, traveling in the past and multiverse, things like that. It's probably going to be something like that, where it's a peek into another universe or the past or something like that. Maybe they see a universe where they won. Where they actually ended up beating Clark Kal-El in Man of Steel instead of in Man of Steel.
Interesting.
Or it could be something. It's probably not gonna happen. It could be something where she is actually, Henry Cavill's daughter, but he's died or off the planet or something.
Yeah.
And so it's just, and then it's just like I don't think it's not going to be, the same Zod, because obviously he died.
Right.
I just think it's going to be some kind of shenanigans, whether it's time travel or multiverse or something like that.
Yeah. Well, let me just. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Definitely time travel.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I said definitely time travel.
Spider-Man, top of all time. Imagine a world here where the reason we're keeping this Henry Cavill business secret, because, see, you got two things going on here, right? You have Ben Affleck is going to yield to Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton will be joining the DC universe. What if it's Henry Cavill passing the baton, and he will be in the film as well, but we just don't know it yet, right? Because it's going to be a big surprise to Supergirl, and it has to do with, because she is part of that whole Kryptonian universe. So I think that there might be an element there that we're missing here, that they may be keeping this very much close to the vest that we may not know. They would be stupid not to pay Henry Cavill at least $10 to $15 million to reprise his role as Superman for a swan song if they're not going to use him anymore. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
They're dumb.
If they did that, I would be fine with it. I would be happy. Only issue with that is that Ben Affleck succeeding to Michael Keaton is different, because Michael Keaton has already proven that he is Batman. this I can't remember her name, but this is her first movie. We don't know how she's going to do as Supergirl. So I would rather, if they were to do that, I would rather it be after we see how she does. She maybe even gets her own movie, and then he does it. But for him to do it in her first outing, when we don't know, one, how she's going to do, or two, how she's going to be received, I don't think that would be a good move.
I think it's disgusting. I don't believe them one bit. And Cavill has been open in the public far more than usual in the last 2 years or so about wanting to be Superman again. He had initially given up because he couldn't make any headway with the studio. Okay. And then he said it even more so. And now you have this whole Supergirl thing going on, which I say is disgusting because I don't believe they legitimately want a Supergirl. I think they're pandering to women because they got such a wonderful response with the Wonder Woman movie. Little girls and women were very excited to see a legitimate female hero who wasn't just out there running around in skimpy outfits, but literally kicked ass. Okay. And it was a great movie. It had great reviews across the board from all people. And they saw dollar signs, which was proven when they pulled out Wonder Woman 84. That movie was not well prepared or done right. And it was just thrown out there to make some more money. They're going to do another Wonder Woman. And so now instead of paying Henry Cavill, you want to push him to the side and try to make Supergirl and push that whole narrative out for her. And I just think that's a load. I don't think that that's something that, they're legitimately wanting to do or pass the baton. I think they're kind of freezing him out, which is why Cavill went public. Affleck was a different beast. Like you said, Michael Keaton can be an older Batman or Batman in general, but Affleck has been vocal about stepping down from Batman specifically because of the rigors of the training on his body to get in shape for the movie. He can't handle it anymore. And so I understood why he's stepping back from it. That makes sense. Cavill's in great shape. He's eager to do the role. People want to see it. They just won't give us that product. So I just, again, with what you were saying with, what is it, DC being sold to Discovery, I'm hoping that will change some things because AT&T at some point has gotten a little bit too big to fail when they had all these acquisitions, and they recognize it, which is why they're, essentially trying to break off different pieces of their company. Too many people over there making decisions that don't add up right when it comes to Warner Brothers. So if Discovery can come in, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that was just, they wanted the entertainment aspect of it, with the phones, and you have online service and you need that content. I get it. But if you're not going to have somebody there to get the right product, then get it to somebody that can. So hopefully if this Discovery acquisition goes through, or merger, whatever you want to call it, then somebody legitimately can come through and say, hey, you guys are effing up. Let's do it the right way, But yeah, it's bad. Very bad.
Yeah, the fandom news bag is closed for the week.
There's a lint in there. There's nothing else done at the bottom. Just fuzz. You keep the bag clean. I think there's broken Cheez-Its down in there, man, to be sure. But I would love it. Disney would buy it. Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. Hey, but hold on. As a part of that deal, though, when they bought Fox, I believe Discovery is a portion of that. Discovery was kind of in that. Pull that up when you get a chance to do some research, because my wife and I were talking about that because I initially thought they only bought the movie portion of Fox, but they didn't. They got a lot more in TV channels and well too with that Disney acquired. So we'll see. I mean, you guys are great with the research on that. You let me know, and I'll do mine, outside of this. But listen, yeah, I saw something about that. I can
tell you, first of all, I was told that I was on mute, so shame on me for not, So no one heard exactly what I said. They just heard your response. But I will say that I said that I don't think it would ever happen, a DC to Disney deal or a Warner to Disney deal. I don't think that ever happens. Again, that's my two bits on it. I know you said that Discovery was part of the deal, but it actually wasn't. I just pulled it up. The Discovery deal was not included to the deal with Disney, and hence why AT&T sold it to Discovery, which Discovery will have the two merging together of different things. So I think that'll be great, business. But again, cool. Interesting concept from the collector's edition host Danny to see what would happen. Yeah, to see what would happen.
Stir the pot, Danny.
If Disney was by DC, you could see Mickey Mouse whoop Batman's ass.
Yeah, I know exactly. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna kick your
never
ass,
happen.
Batman. All right,
First
Batman.
of all, if you know Batman like I know Batman, if the mouse actually acquired Batman, guess who the new Robin would be?
Oh boy,
Mickey, right there.
Hey, Batman,
Exactly
to
what
the
you know.
mobile. Let's go. Oh boy.
Hey,
all right, guys. So
his
listen,
mouth closed like wait.
our main topic of the day, of the night, is the Book of Boba Fett. This premiered last week. There's 2 episodes in the can, and the House of Fandom is going to be reviewing both of those episodes. So without further ado, let's kick off the first episode of the House of Boba Fett. Now, just in fairness, let's talk about who's Star Wars fans, who's not. I enjoy Star Wars. I think Star Wars is an amazing property when done right. Okay. That said, I'm going to hand it off to my co-host who may have differing opinions on Star Wars and may have tainted minds. And tainted hearts. But we'll start off with Tank. Tank, what were your initial thoughts on episode 1 of The House of Boba Fett?
Why are you talking about Star Wars? You got to bring up that I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan.
Did I say your name? I just said,
I don't know how I didn't see that coming. I really don't.
I just said, hey, we may have some people in here that may not be the exact Star Wars fans, so their minds may be tainted, their hearts may be tainted.
You're trying to give me unnecessary hate in the comments. That's
all right. Well, listen, that's neither here nor there. But my point is you listen. You have stated before that you didn't grow up necessarily like enthralled in the whole Star Wars verse. I think you said those words. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not say those words?
No, I didn't. I did say those words.
Okay.
But ever since I said a certain phrase of Empire Strikes Back, graphics were not that good. Don't hold up.
Yeah, that was listen.
Salty.
Listen, yeah. Danny is a witness to your fallacies as it pertains to the majesty, the majesty of Empire Strikes Back, the groundbreaking special effects of Empire Strikes Back. He didn't even have the honor to call them special effects. You know what he said? Well, the graphics weren't. They were okay, but they were a little bit dated. I mean, come on, dude. Like, dated? Like, we're still going to have this conversation? The Empire Strikes Back? Right. Excuse me. They didn't hold up. But I think millions and millions of Star Wars fans will disagree with you, good sir. But anyway, but listen, what Collector's Edition Danny says, boo this man, I agree. So, Tank, do you know who? Okay, you watched The Mandalorian. We know that.
Yeah.
So this is obviously
I knew
right.
I know who Boba Fett was.
Right. So you know the lore of him. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the lore. Okay. That being said, going into this, what were your expectations? Did you have any, or did you just say, you know what, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to see what this bounty hunt is all about. Let's look at his backstory. Let's see what they do.
I mean, I was because if he hadn't appeared in the season 2 of Mandalorian, I wouldn't have had any I wouldn't have really cared because he was dope. He was dope for the few episodes, however many episodes he was dope in that. But I remember when I was younger and I when I watched Star Wars, all I heard about was how dope Boba Fett was and how great he was, and then I watched the original Star Wars, and I was like, he died 2 minutes after he was introduced. Yeah. Well, not he really died. We now know he didn't die, but at the time, I was like,
it was an unceremonious.
Just like the meme I posted. This is death. Your king. So
right.
If it wasn't for The Mandalorian, my expectations of this would have been very low.
That's fair.
From what they shown. I know, like, people love, his love and everything, admiration that he does have came from the comics, which I never read any Star Wars comics. But me just watching the movies, his father was more of a badass than he was from me watching the prequels.
Right. So by his father, you mean Jango Fett, the original clone. The original subject matter that created the clones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Okay, well that's a fair statement.
It was dope how I did like how that they did open up with showing how he survived. What is that creature called that he?
The Sarlacc pit.
Sarlacc pit. So it's dope that they showed that. But overall, this first episode was kind of meh for me overall. Like, there was nothing really besides them showing that. It was super slow for me. And to me, it was just it was dope. Them going showing a little bit of his backstory, but I didn't need the whole episodes to be all in the past. Showing, I think it should have been one or the other. Like, the whole first episode be about him in the past, or just that one scene, and then they move forward to after the Mandalorian.
Okay, fair enough. What are your thoughts, Spike? Your initial for episode 1 of the House of Boba Fett?
I was pissed.
Or the book.
Listening to you guys right now, though, just made me think about it, to be honest with you. Boba Fett was always cool to me. I wasn't a huge fan of Boba Fett, but I did like that the way he was portrayed in Star Wars and everything. He was mysterious. He gave off this aura that he was somebody not to be messed with, and he was very much feared. Okay, so I dug that. When this whole little show came out, like Tank said, when he was on The Mandalorian, I was excited because he looked pretty cool. It was different. It flowed well with the show. Mando's awesome in itself. So when this popped up, I was interested, but this whole first episode was not well put together for me. It was, I don't want to say all over the place, but it was very, very slow, very dry. And as you guys were talking, excuse me, it dawned on me, maybe this was just a pilot episode because it was only 34 minutes, whereas in the second episode was over 50 minutes. And so I'm like, well, maybe that was just a pilot that they shot that they just decided to stay with. Sometimes pilots don't, they don't always pan out well. They're not a good indicator of how well the show will be. So that kind of made me kind of rethink it a little bit because I was ready to rip it. I really did not like the episode at all. I didn't feel like I learned up there. It just kind of felt like he's very weak.
Maybe this might change
he gave a little backstory. But
it was definitely not a pilot. It was written by Jon Favreau, and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez. And it was it was a pickup of the entire series, right? There was no pilot to see if it would go to series, so it was as bad as you think it was.
Appreciate you saying that because I did see that Robert Rodriguez actually directed it, and I'm a fan of his films. So I was like, what did they cut out too much? Like, it just did nothing for me. It did nothing for the character. Like, if you don't really know about Boba Fett or who he's supposed to be, you would not want to watch this show. I was very upset that I watched it. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not like it. And so I was like, okay, well, let me try to give it benefit of the doubt. And, it's a whole series. Sometimes they start out slow, but it is, this is not the same guy I saw with Mando. And I understand they're showing it from another perspective. This is him coming back, like you said, after he was almost dead, what he's battling through, what's going on. I get it, but I wasn't impressed at all. And I just feel like there's other ways they could have did that to help bring you on in and really kind of feel what's going on and look forward to the other episodes. It wasn't good for me.
I'm not a fan of going back in time. Like, I think it just confuses things. When you go back in time, then you bring the character back and they're in the current times and then you go back again. I am of the old school of, hey, just give me their origin that we never seen on film. Okay. That's the first thing. And let's flesh it out. I think the biggest problem with episode 1 was it was not fleshed out like it needed to be. And I know that, the whole question of did he survive the Sarlacc pit was obviously something that was talked about throughout the whole Star Wars lore after Return of the Jedi came out, and he was unceremoniously, killed inadvertently by a blinded Han Solo at the time, and it was almost comedic, his death, and he was like one of the most feared bounty hunters, so it was like a real bad disservice. Yeah, exactly. I think the problem, though, with the first episode and the shortness of the episode, but more importantly, if you're going to devote that period, then you need to not go maybe devote a first 5 minutes of, we already know that this is after the Mandalorian, right? This was clearly when he got his suit back, because he got his suit back. If you're going to do that, if you're going to go back in time, I think, as Tank mentioned, you need to devote more time to just staying in the past and not keep going back and forth. I think it would have been worthy of doing at least 2 episodes where you just stood in the past and maybe just bookend it in the beginning and bookend it in the end, for lack of a better word, just for those little pieces of moments to remind everybody, hey, we're in the future. He's going to be dealing with that. But hey, let's talk about what everybody wants to know. How did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? I got to be honest with you. I love Star Wars. I've got Boba Fett right behind me. Okay. I've got Yoda here. I've got many different Star Wars, stuff in my Superman room as well. I was disappointed because you devoted literally 5 minutes of screen time with him in the Sarlacc pit. That to me was almost criminal that they did not put more into it as to how he survived through the Sarlacc pit. Because frankly, I think, it would have been rather interesting to see, were there other people down there that were alive just like him, trying to find their way out of the Sarlacc pit. They made it seem like this, this massive thing, that digests humans or digests people over thousands of years or whatever you want to call it. But all we got was him being in some squishy part of it. I think it did a disservice not to give us that whole, okay, so he just shot out his thing, and then he took some oxygen, shot it out of his flamethrower, and then he was done. That to me was kind of lazy, and I'm very disappointed, John Favreau. We were talking about you with Spider-Man and said you were the savior of the whole universe, but what happened? Oh, well, I did.
No. No. I agree with the Spider-Man thing. I'm just saying.
Yes, you can. Let me explain why. He produces this show and he wrote the episode. So how could you not?
Right, because he wrote the episode. It's the director's job to bring it to life. So Rodriguez's job was to go into detail with that for us.
I haven't gotten into his bullshit yet, but I agree with you in that point. However, the director, if the director is not the writer, because most directors write their film, then he's just going by what he has to work with. And I think he's the director for hire in this, and so Favreau, if anything, Favreau shares most of the blame because he's the one that wrote it from paper to screen what was going to happen. That's it. That's just the bottom line. Now, how it was executed. Listen, how it was executed is a whole other issue, which I do agree that it just seemed like it was done cheaply, and that I never got that vibe from The Mandalorian. Do you think? And I'm going to jump to Tank. Tank, do you think that it was kind of looked a little bit off, maybe a little bit less production value than we expected? It just didn't seem like a Mandalorian as far as the effects and everything.
No, but that might be on, maybe not on purpose, but because, especially, when so much of it in the past in the desert, they don't have, all the set pieces and everything that the Mandalorian has. So, it might be on purpose, or it might just be
but the Mandalorian
set piece.
Mandalorian was in Tatooine as well. So
his suit doesn't look as good as the Mandalorian. So that's a lot.
I see what you're saying.
Shiny and everything. So that could be another issue.
Right.
Well, that's after Mando got the best car, though. Mando's suit was trash in the beginning. But I will say this to your point, though, guys. You made a good point, Clark. It probably is a little bit of saving on the budget because it did look cheaply done inside of the, the beast. the Starlight Pit, which they maybe say. I know that Favreau got a huge check just based off of the success of Mando to do this show. So he may be saving some of that money for what we're going to see in later episodes. Maybe they spent more budget on that. And then when this was, because we don't know when this one was shot. This has just happened to be the first episode. Okay, so to that point, I get it. You know, I get what you're saying. I completely agree with you. I just expected more from those names. And mainly Rodriguez. Rodriguez does great jobs to me. I love his movies. And so, like I said, for me, it didn't touch you. You're nailing it on the head with how you feel about it. You really are. But like I said, it's Rodriguez's job to bring the script to life in their own interpretation. Now, whether or not the reins was on him and he was restricted, maybe some of his work got edited out because it was too long or too much for what Disney wanted to do, because we have to remember this is still a Disney production, and Rodriguez can get, a little messy. So it all depends. That all could have happened. I'll give them that benefit, but I just, again, reiterating, and it sounds like the same for you.
Listen, I agree with you. I think we're all on the same page in our thoughts on it. I think Tank said it just like Forrest Gump would say it. He's like, it just felt meh. You know what I mean? It really did. And listen, it felt I could take it, I could leave it for the first episode, And so if I was going to review the first episode, boys, unless you have any other thoughts on episode 1, because episode 2 is obviously a longer episode. But for me, episode 1, if I'm going to rate it, I'm going to give it a C-. And the reason for that was, you need to wow me. This was a character that's iconic in Star Wars lore, and it kind of came out very slow paced and really did not do justice in its first episode. So it gets a C- for me. Shame on Jon Favreau and shame on Robert Rodriguez for not really stepping it up and going gangbusters out the gate. Tank, what are your thoughts? What was your score, your fandom score?
I think this might be the lowest score I've given anything that we've reviewed or anything. I'm gonna give a D+.
Okay, aristocrat. All right, D+. Okay, all right. Very good. And listen, it earned it. Right, exactly. That's why I call him an aristocrat. He's gonna give him my plus there. Why not?
You said C-.
I did say C-. That's true. Spike, what did you score? What was your fandom score for the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett?
Listen, I'm also for all you guys that grew up with teachers with the red pencils, when they were doing your tests and everything, not red pens, that red pencil. Think of a big fat red D.
It does.
Okay, boy, does that hurt, because I expect, in the comments, I expect more from you, because exactly how I feel. There's Disney's open. You got to remember, man. Right, see me after class. You got to remember, Disney's open to a wide range of people from all different types of backgrounds, ethnicities, age groups. You're exposing Boba Fett to so many people who have no idea who he is. Okay, I love Star Wars, and my wife could care less about it. She didn't know who any of these people are, but she'd watch those shows with me. Nobody's interested after that first episode. So yes, I expect so much more from you. That's a big fat D.
I think we were being fair in our assessment of the first episode. Let's do this. Let's move on to the second episode, and I'm going to display some of the images from the second episode, because we got some surprises in episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. So let's take a look at that. Bear with me just a second here as we move to that feed. And here we all are, guys. So we are at the Book of Boba Fett. I want to talk about, let's just start off with, okay? Let's get right to it. This episode has a lot of images, right? But the first image that comes to mind for me is, one, it starts off with a lot of things happening, the ramifications of the first episode with the assassins after Boba Fett. But more importantly, it gives us 2 major surprises. The first one's on our screen. I want to kick it off to you, Spike. What were your thoughts with what looks to be a Wookiee assassin?
This for me was pretty cool. I thought that Dark Chewie, and I say Dark Chewie like dented dark, in a bad way, was pretty awesome to me. I would have never thought of a Wookiee assassin at all. So I thought the whole premise was cool. I liked the way he looked. I think he should have been bigger because Chewie was like 7 feet tall. And
he was
not much
Diesel,
taller
though. He was
than,
Diesel.
Boba Fett,
He was Diesel. He was Diesel.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't lanky. He wasn't lanky.
And he looked not at all, which I can deal with the stoutness. You're absolutely right about that. But the big man was out here ready to kick some ass. So for me, I felt like this was a good way to kind of change things up. I always I don't know if you guys do this too, which most Star Wars fans probably do. Whenever they release new movies, I like to see what type of new characters they're going to bring up. You know, even if they're just in the background. What do these new aliens look like? These different type of people. What do they sound like? So to go and take and remix a Wookiee like this was something pretty cool for me. I like that. Because remember, before when we seen different Wookiees in some of the Star Wars films, they all look like Chewie. You know, they're not much different. You know, almost like Ewoks. So to see one like this, he's a little gray, he's angry, he looks like he's been through some stuff.
Yeah,
I'm digging
the collector's edition, Danny said he's from the expanded universe. So for those of you that had followed the books, the books, delve into, how Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit in more detail, as well as these other characters. I was like, when I saw that, I thought, okay, here's a badass character. Now I'm getting a little bit more interested because, like, okay, you got my attention now, right? Tank, what were your thoughts when you saw this, obviously roided out version of a Wookiee here? Like, obviously, cock diesel, ready to handle business. What was your thoughts?
My first thought was, all right, now that it's a black Wookiee, representation matters.
Looks good. He looked good. He was ready to handle business.
Yeah, and also like just like that, because like as big as Chewie is, he's towering.
Exactly. He's lanky.
He's
lanky,
right? He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't look menacing, like his face. Like he doesn't look like he's gonna hurt you. Like if you just walked up, you just walked up and saw you and be like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? This guy. He look like he ready to fight. He ready to fight. He gonna knock you out. And to Spike's point about him not being as tall as Chewie, I think that's a good thing because this will make for a better fight because it's the better inevitable fight between the two of them. Because if he was like super tall and lengthy, it would be an uneven. It would be an uneven fight. It'll be uneven. It'll be awkward to film. This one, it'll be definitely film. He can probably, he's probably be more agile than Chewie would be in a fight. So, I mean, I like that they made him, a little bit shorter, stockier.
And he came in like a badass too, like ultimate stare down, bro. Ultimate, right in front of the ring, right before the fight, exactly. Before the bell rings. Though he's like, look at him now. He's like, yo, I got you, player. I got you. But no, I thought that was really good. Yeah, exactly, Tank. So like that kicks off the episode, which obviously brings me to my next observation, and I want your thoughts, right? So here he is looking menacing, right? This Wookiee, this intergalactic bodyguard, roided out Wookiee. But more importantly, I want to talk about what the hell is going on with the Jabba the Hutt family showing up, trying to claim shit. What? I didn't even know he had relatives in Tatooine. What is going on, gentlemen? Do you like this turn of event, or do you feel as though this maybe now we were getting a little campy with this? What are your thoughts on it? I'm gonna just kick it right to Tank first. What did you think when you saw the Hutts, the cousins, or whatever they want to call it? The twins, right?
Twins. I mean, I don't think it's campy because obviously.
Well, we know who, right?
You're gonna have a Boba Fett. Yeah, if you're gonna have a Boba Fett movie, show, you gotta have a Hutt of some kind, and we can't have Jabba. The same thing is like I don't understand how the Hutts. Maybe I missed it in the movie, in the original. I don't see why they're like so feared and have so much power. They can't even move on their own.
You got to remember though, they're
Don't
gangsters. They call it intergalactic gangster, Jabba the Hutt. You know, so when you have power like that, and you have minions, and you have enforcers, and you have those people that are out there, you know, your goons to take care of your business, then yeah, you're going to be feared, especially if that hierarchy has happened through generations. You know, so I think that's where the whole Hutts, like, obviously have that stranglehold, and it all boils down to currency as well, even in the Star Wars universe, especially in the Star Wars universe. That's just my take on that, Tank, as far as, like, you know, because obviously they're not strong at all, but they have the muscle behind them, just like a gangster, you know, that we would see in a movie, you know what I mean, that just looks small in stature but has his goons behind him.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I was like I said, I was expecting it. I didn't think it was going to happen this early. I'm happy that by the end, call him. I'll be PC and call him Dark Chewie. Which doesn't sound better actually. The Dark Wookiee. There we go. I'm glad that they had him there because it shows because if it was just Boba and them going at it, I wouldn't have cared. But knowing they have the Dark Wookiee there to back them up, and knowing that they're going to fight, that made that scene more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there too. I mean, when you consider the possibilities, they just gave us a tease, and I thought that was really cool that they did, and they didn't go too much into it because obviously we want to see more of it. I do know that the Book of Boba Fett though is only going to be, I believe, 6 episodes. So whatever's going to happen is going to have to happen very soon because we're at the middle part next episode next week. So it'll be interesting. But I enjoyed it. It was a little jarring because we've seen how CGI can ruin Jabba the Hutt. You know what I'm saying? In the special editions, when they had him in front of, Han Solo and they added them in, like, he looks better as a real puppet. But I thought they did a pretty admirable job with the way they had them set up, considering they had lighting in there and everything else. I thought they did a pretty good job. I mean, for what it was, I thought they did a really good job. But I am curious to see how it all kind of fits into the storyline, or if this is just fan service. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Yeah,
it's definitely fan service. People love the Hutts. You know what I'm saying? They love Jabba. He really did. He was different. He is an intergalactic gangster. He's connected. Yeah, right? It's a tad bit campy. I mean, I guess they don't really. When you think about, but to the point, and I will give them this. When you think of Tatooine, you think of 3 things. Really 2. You think of Jabba and you think of Luke Skywalker. Really. The third would possibly be Obi-Wan, but those are the main 2 things. So either be Skywalker,
you also think Han Solo.
Or Jabba
Let's not forget that, because he had beef with Solo for many years.
Yeah, but you got to remember, and that's what I'm saying. But I'm thinking of just Tatooine, not just Jabba. Of Tatooine. So I see them bringing the Hutts in. It's a nice little mix. Hopefully, you don't see too much of them. And I get the whole connected family thing, but to Tank's point and your point, we'll call him Chewie Noir. That makes it exciting because like you said, nobody want a laser blast takes both of them out.
Exactly,
no problem.
Oh yeah,
it's just good. They did.
Or choking them out too, but it was Leia did. So yeah, well that's true. That's what I just said, right? Someone got choked out, and she got him good too. But no, I mean, all right. So for me, I like this. I'm gonna say I'm good with this introduction. So I'm good with that. Tank, are you good with this? All right. What about you?
Unless they pull a Dune. And how Dune had Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, they didn't fight. If Boba
then it's going to be a problem.
Don't fight, the whole series, is getting to eat.
And listen, you heard it first. So when we're at the last episode, hopefully this silver fox of a Wookiee will have definitely battled Boba Fett. Now, Spike, you're okay with it? I know you said it was a little campy. You think it's fan service. Yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a little campy, but it wasn't enough to make me hate it. It was.
Yeah,
it was
I
cool.
thought it
Like
was
I said,
too.
it was a nice little throwback.
All right,
well,
let's do this. Let's move on
I'm with it.
to what I think was the most substantial part of the entire episode, and I gotta be honest with you, the Tusken Raiders, which I've displayed on the screen, they weren't necessarily my most loved Star Wars character. However, they played very small but critical parts in the original Star Wars with Luke Skywalker looking for Obi-Wan, as well, or Ben Kenobi, as well as in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when the beginning of the end for Anakin Skywalker, when he slayed all of the spoiler alert, yes, not the younglings, the Raiders, the Tusken women and children and all of them, because as right. revenge for the death of his mom from them. Now, I have to say, I actually thought this was the most fleshed out character of the show by far, because they showed us a side of the Tusken Raiders that we didn't see. Like, we just thought they were savages. They were just monstrous beings. We didn't know what was behind the mask. We just hated them. But I kind of like, they have a code, and they have an honor. And it's kind of like a situation. I see parallels of, a foreign body or alien whatever coming into their world, their sand dunes, and trying to take over, and so they're just protecting their land, and so you could relate to that. But I thought that I really enjoyed the scenes with Boba Fett really like becoming part of their tribe. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought it really fleshed out their characters. And it also gave me some insight into Boba Fett as well. But mostly, I think it fleshed out more of the Tuscany, the Tuscanies, or the Raiders, whatever you want to call them, more so than in the past. You know what I'm saying? That was my two bits. What about you? What say you on that, Tank? Or, excuse me, Spike.
More or less the same. I never was a fan of them. I really thought it was just fun to go and light them up, kind of like what Anakin did, to be honest with you, even though it was very savage and an indication of things to come. But yeah, it was cool to kind of see a little bit of their background, how they operate, where they come from, to see Boba kind of bond with them, to see them, go from, having him as what appeared to be a prisoner and to welcoming him into the tribe and learning that, he actually cared about people and different things like that. It was cool. Now, to a certain extent, it was a little bit long-winded for me. It seemed like this went on for a very long time, to the point where it makes me wonder how much of the show they're going to be in. Because to spend so much time on them and showing this bonding situation and him working with them makes me feel like they're going to be an integral part of the show moving forward, and his relationship with them, because you see a lot of it, from the children to the chief, and him learning to fight and things of that nature. So it was definitely something that it wasn't horrible, but it was interesting. It was a different take. Never would have thought they would have went this route with those.
The sand people.
They call the sand people. Yes. So yeah, it was
but
different.
They did call them Tuscany Raiders, right? Yeah, right. But
like
but
Tuscan Raiders or something.
I remember that.
They don't call them sand people.
I do remember that. Absolutely.
But that's what they used to call
what are your
them,
thoughts on it? This whole like fleshing out of this Star Wars universe character.
It's funny because until you mentioned them, I barely remembered them. I remember them from Anakin killing them in Attack of the Clones, but I didn't remember them from this from the original. I barely remember them. I agree with the Spike where it was a bit long-winded. But I do still think it was dope. Seeing how he went from being their prisoner to gaining their trust, and then them sending him one of them and him helping them to stop the train that kept rolling by and killing them. That was a dope scene and good storytelling as well. I hope they don't, because I don't know, like I said, I think it's going to be 6 episodes. I hope they don't keep doing this where most of or like 50% or more of the episode is in the past. Because I don't know how far you got into Jupiter's Legacy. That's what they kept doing every episode. And it got canceled. It suffered from that.
I agree.
And I know beginning you said you don't like when they go back in the past. I do. I don't mind it if it lines up to the story we're telling directly in the current time. I understand they want to show what happened, the time between him coming out of the Sarlacc pit till when we saw him in Mandalorian. But maybe just do.
Well, I agree with you completely. I think start off
back and forth where they don't.
Absolutely.
Why
not start off with 2 years earlier? You know what I mean? Because I think it was just about a year or two before he ends up getting his Bespin gear and his outfit and getting everything else. So for me, I felt like, you know what? Like, just do that and then just have them go to the middle point. But maybe, gentlemen, and I'm speculating here, but maybe they play into helping him somehow, fight off these guys or whatever, the Hutts or whatever down the road. We don't know. You know what I mean? So, right. I think there has to be a payoff here. There has to be a payoff if you're spending so much time.
Spend that much time. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. Good point.
And that's a really good point there, Clark, because you mentioning that, the Hutts are intergalactic gangsters, which means they're very well connected. They have the funds for bounty hunters to come from all over. And Boba doesn't have any real help right now. We just saw that the assassins came through and almost took him out, which he's definitely got to get on his fighting. We'll get back on that. Exactly. But between assassins, with these hired killers, local gangsters and bounty hunters and people that could come up, he doesn't have any help. So his only real help would be the Sand People to come out and really kind of help fight off. Yep, there'd be some muscle for him out in Tatooine, which is their land, basically. That's really all he has. So hopefully that's where they're going with this. But, and I'm sure you guys, when you talk about this filming, I think that's just what's popular now. We see it in The Witcher. We've seen it in several different other shows where they film these back and forths where you're not sure, that's back in time, and now this is current time, and everybody's jumping on that lately.
I mean, Spike. Sorry, to your point, Spike. I have a concern with that because I believe, and we'll get into The Witcher another time, but The Witcher season 2 suffered a bit from going back in time. That's just my thoughts on that. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a whole other thing. But I do understand what you're saying, that there is a lot of going back in time. And I don't hate it completely. I just think just do the whole story. Like, you don't...
I feel you. I get what you said. It's cool in small doses, but when they lean on it, which is what we're seeing, 2 episodes in, heavy into this,
I agree.
It's one of those things.
Like, they could have done one episode... Like they put the parts of it that have been in the past, 1 and 2, they could have made that one episode.
Him finding out everything, and him finding the gear
in the second episode.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I completely agree. Well, let me just say this, Tank, you talked about it, and as we get to the closer to the end of this episode 2 review, let's talk about fighting and Boba Fett. Because I'm even more annoyed at the fact that they're showing us that they're training him, and this motherflecker still can't fight to save his life unless he has a blowtorch or a freaking missile launcher. Tank, what say you?
Yeah, he was getting his ass whooped a lot.
Always.
First by the assassins in the current time, then even by the I don't know, did they have a name? The dude was on the trains.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was just getting
I don't know. Yeah, getting lit up.
Got his ass whooped by the Raiders. Like what I don't understand is I don't understand why he's getting trained.
Right,
he's already
right.
a bounty. He's the baddest bounty hunter. He's the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Well, maybe it's because the suit,
because
he was catching beatings left and right. He caught a beating today, on that train. He caught a beating from those little guys, whatever they were, right? He caught a beating from them. And also, he was being pushed around, it seems like, everywhere he was going.
But I'm saying, this is all after the events of the original Star Wars movies, where he was already deemed the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy. But now you need to be trained by saying.
That's my point, though, and that's where I'm getting to, where they kind of losing it here. Unless you're talking about, like Clark said, maybe he was just good with his weapons and his toys, but his intuition is off too, and maybe this could be part of his healing process. Like, he's not aware. He knows he's in an area where he has to prove himself, but he's not aware to look over his shoulder. He's getting bum rushed. He's getting beat up. And man, I'm gonna tell you, if I had $1 for every time he jumped in that little hyperbaric chamber thing or whatever it is with the pool of water, I mean, literally every time he goes home, he jumps in the tub. Every time. I'm like, if you gotta heal after every time you take a walk, bro, you ain't gonna last long, especially not in the desert. And so,
I'm saying, like, what does he need to go in there like Darth Vader? That's what I'm trying to say.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not cool for him, for me. Another thing that nitpicks and drives me nuts, and I don't know about you guys, and for all the people watching, maybe you can put this in the comments if you know, but I'm not used to him removing his helmet. I know back in the day he didn't. I know he had it off when he didn't have his equipment. He's talking to Mando. But I think this actor really hates wearing that helmet, because literally every 5 minutes he's taking it off.
But I agree with you,
and I'm
though.
like, you're far...
Exactly.
I hate it. He's far less intimidating, and I get it. I know the Mandalorian never supposed to remove his helmet in public. I get it. He's not the Mandalorian, but I'm like, dude, you're wearing a suit. You even made a little badass play where you had the droids helping you put the suit on. I thought that was pretty cool when he got out of the tub and they strapped him all up and everything. When you put that helmet on and you're out there and you know people are after you, that helmet should not come off until you're back somewhere safe, in my opinion. And so he's constantly taking it off, and that's driving me nuts. I'm like, because you already can't fight. You're just going to catch a laser to the head, bro.
I can tell you why. I think you're right. Yeah, the actor doesn't like wearing the helmet. And also, he must have got, you see, he always showing his teeth. He got some veneers in there. He wants to show them veneers all the time.
Yeah, it's something, bro.
He don't even be talking. He's still sitting there with his teeth out.
Exactly. It's driving me nuts, man, because I'm like, these little things for me, and I could be nitpicky, but it takes away from the lore of who we know Boba Fett to be. And I don't know how you redeem yourself from that. Honestly, his sidekick is more badass to me than he is. She's dope.
She always is.
You know what I'm saying? She's aware. She's always on cue, like watching, paying attention. She's up and around. She went to go chase the assassins for him. Like, she's more of a badass than he is. He just kind of seemed like a broke down guy who's living off his reputation from 30 years ago. That's really how he comes across now.
Right,
so I'm hoping that this whole thing
is not 30
is
years ago. In the Star Wars world, that happened right after the events of Return of the Jedi.
No, I know.
So yeah. No, I agree with you. Completely agree.
Like it's 30 years ago, but this is literally like you said, what, 2 years?
I
Something like that.
agree with
it's
you.
not long at all. So it's like, dude, you're still supposed to be on your stuff, and he was so much better than Mandalorian. Yeah. So it's right now. It's like, to be a badass, you this isn't an origin story right now, man. You should know how to fight. Yeah. At least take some of them down to have some tricks. Like the Sand People were whooping his ass.
They gave him a beating. But listen, I mean, hopefully we'll get more of it. I thought this was an improvement off of episode 1. I mean, listen, when you're down, for me, I thought it was an improvement in the going back and giving us the whole, like, Sand People, like, their backstory, and really giving us some humanity in them as well. And then also, like, I felt like it felt very much like they're accepting him into the tribe, but also like showing a little bit of something more about that he cares, Boba Fett, that he has that heart, because remember, he goes back to the love that he had for Jango Fett, his creator. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, Jango Fett created one person in his image, as far as like the whole, like, you know, not the regular clones that just looked like him. You know, he created Boba Fett in his like whole like aesthetics and his like feelings and things like that. So like, you know, he does have that same, humanity, for lack of a better word, because they're not really human, but you know what I'm saying. But I thought it was a step above the first episode. I agree with you, Tank, that there was a little bit too much now. It's like, come on, couldn't you have given us 45 minutes on that one and then 45 minutes on this one? You know what I'm saying? Instead of like 55 minutes on this one and like 29. Yeah, no, like I felt like
probably 30. What?
Yeah, I totally think. I totally
does.
think that. Welcome, Dave O'Donnell. Dave O'Donnell's a huge Star Wars fan. The tribal backstory is interesting, and then also talking about the non-modified. That's what he was talking about when I was trying to articulate that he was not modified like the other clones were when Jango Fett created them in that water world place. But I thought they're getting better. I thought that it was definitely a step way up from the first one. But you know, again, I think highlights are, I know you mentioned this too, Spike the Assassin. She's a great character. I want to see more of her. The inclusion of Jabba the Hutt, as we discussed, there should be Jabba the Hutt's family and extended family creates a element there. I am still curious to see where we go with the Sand People, the Raiders. But more importantly, I think that this show runs the risk of very much like not losing people if they don't really start stepping this up on the next episode. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
This is what you call, like you say in the sports world or other places where a coach or somebody's on the hot seat. This show is absolutely on the hot seat. They have to come hard and very well for episode 3, or it's going to tank, in my opinion.
I agree. And listen, this is one of the most iconic supporting characters of villains in all of the Star Wars universe. You know, a toy modified with a little missile launcher was sold for $250 million. $250,000. A Kenner toy. So that tells you how iconic this character is, even though he had less than 5 minutes of screen time. Okay, so I put that in perspective. But again, I thought it was a step above, but we need to really pick up the pace, especially going into next week, which will be the middle point of the entire show, being at episode 3. So with that, I'll just bring it to you guys before we go to our review portion of it. Tank, any other thoughts that you want to bring to the table regarding episode 2?
It definitely, it still was not great. It was not mad. It was so that's good. It wasn't mad, but it wasn't. It was middle ground. Like I said, there's too much time spent in the past. Even though I did like that story. Just like I said, they could have split. They could have put all that episode and then made all more current stuff episode 2. The highlight to me is the Black Wookiee. That's I can't. Like I said, if they don't fight, this whole show is a failure for me. But they definitely do need to, like you said, need to pick it up, to get the audience, to make sure they get the audience back and keep it, because it already, they already has the lowest reviews of any of the Marvel and Disney Plus shows, between all of them. So they definitely got to do something, with this next couple episodes to get the audience back into it. I agree.
I would agree with you there. What about you, Spike? Any closing or thoughts or observations before we get into the actual review rating?
Yeah, more or less, you guys already kind of hit the nail on the head with most of it. Like we said, they just got to really bring it for the 3rd episode. And back to kind of like what we were talking about even before with the Batman things. Respect the character. Boba Fett was huge for the Star Wars franchise, even with that small little bit of screen time. And he's lasted for decades at this point with fan lore. Bring him up.
Yeah.
Make sure he looks good. You know, this is his show. So let's see what he can do. Let's really get down and see where he can go with it. It's just all I'm looking for. So, but it was a step up from the first episode, absolutely. Even though, albeit the bar was super low after episode 1, it was still much better. I mean, so hopefully this is just a building point. And, you know, I'm absolutely going to watch next week, you know, to see where we go. But I am definitely one of those people. If it doesn't hold up to at least a C+ for us, I'm done with it.
I definitely, you know, share your sentiment as far as that's concerned too. I think that it needs to continue to step up. I do know the ratings were better than Hawkeye, and they were, you know, they're good, but they're only as good as the entirety of the series will be in the eyes of their audience, you know? And so hopefully the sum of its parts will be better than what we've seen so far. For me, looking at the entire show, highlights obviously being the introduction of this Wookiee, this silver, you know, completely cock diesel, Chewie, right? Yeah,
Chewie,
just totally ready to handle business. And then, of course, the element of bringing the Hutts in there as well. And then, of course, I thought having the Raiders have that background story for me was a good thing. Actually give me a little bit of like, hey, I'm gonna have to talk to Dave O'Donnell. Do you have a Tusken Raider from the original series of characters, figures that came out? I know that you are a huge fan, so I'll be curious to see if you have that. Also, he did mention that specifically because, you know, he's such a Star Wars guy, that Boba Fett did not have the same genetic modifications, such as behavioral conditioning and growth acceleration, like the clones did. So he actually grew up as a boy, and, you know, a teenager, and like to an adult, whereas the clones did not, which is why he has aged. Right. And so. There's a good point that you brought up, Dave. And then he says, hopefully the flashback thing comes together with the current time soon. I agree. I hate when they overdo the stuff jumping back and forth. We talked about that as well. You know, they're going back and forth in time as well. Hopefully they'll pay that off. For me, I'm giving it a C. I'll give it a C, but the reason it gets a C is not because of the evolution of the character or the getting a deep dive into the character of Boba Fett, but because of the background story for me for the Raiders and the Sand People and what they did there, I thought was really cool. And then of course bringing in the Drakkar Noir, you know, Wookiee, yeah. So, but anyway, you know, Spike, what was your score on this one? Your fandom review score.
For me, it was just a step up from episode 1. So I did give it a C also. More so because, like I said, I felt like they spent too much time, you know, on the relationship with the Sand People, like where I felt like they could have wrapped it up a little bit more. Obviously, it may pay off later. It was still much better than the first episode. So if you want, you could bump a C+, but yeah, C, a solid C for me was pretty good. I'm not overly disappointed in it, like I said, but I still feel like there's a ways to go. Okay, it's
fair enough. And last but certainly not least, not in square footage, that is, Mr. Tank, go for it.
I'm gonna give it a C as well. Like I said, it was better than the first episode. Highlights, as I said before, Black Wookiee. The story of the Sand People, that was good, but still too much time spent in the back. As Spike said, I can't remember the actress's name. I know she's always a badass and everything, but she's his assassin partner. She's dope. To highlight. They got to get that. They got to stop having him get his ass whooped. Like, if he's supposed to be this badass bounty hunter. Well, from what I've seen from now on, when he does, if he does fight Black Wookiee, there's one punch and he's done.
Oh yeah, I mean, unless he has some that Bespin armor, protects him from that punch. The character's name, the assassin, is Fennec Shan. Fennec Shan. So the assassin name is Fennec Shan. And also, let's give a shout out to What a Feeling, Flashdance. Jennifer Beals in the character. I'm going to actually bring her up right now so that you guys can see. But she actually plays a good role in there. So I want to make sure you guys see it. So hold please. Here we go. So ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Beals right there. That is the character that she's like the hostess of that hotel, that whole like bar. Yeah, so Jennifer Beals, who played the young girl in Flashdance, and so she's actually like her.
You think she gonna get wet in the chair? Just dump the bucket on herself in the chair.
Good. There you go.
Boba Fett walks in the bar.
He's like, what a feeling to believe in. But yeah,
she dances to that.
Yeah, so that's Jennifer Beals, by the way. So that was pretty cool. And for those. Here's another Easter egg.
Nice
we saw the little elephant guy, the little puffet elephant guy that was like doing his thing, and then we also saw one of the guys from the ding 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 from the original. When they were in the cantina, those guys that were performing those aliens. So that was pretty neat. That was pretty neat to see that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's a nice throwback. I will say this though, real
you're
quick,
fine.
man. I'm sorry to interrupt. They shouldn't be afraid to let him get surgical with his blaster. He's known for that.
Right. I was wondering
why.
He
don't always have to go hand-to-hand combat.
Yes.
Let him get down with his blaster. There's plenty of people he can take out and show, because that's what he's known to do pretty quickly with it as well. So, and he was carrying it like he was really going to use it as he was walking through the street. So they definitely need to do that as well.
And like I said, hopefully, we get more fleshed out into what's going on there too, because like you said, Boba Fett was the most feared, of all of the bounty hunters. You know what I mean? So I mean, it'll be interesting. And, also too, when you think about the entire like arc of Boba Fett, it'll be interesting to see, like, is it because he's changed? Is that what, maybe because when he saw the Wookiees and met the Wookiees, they changed him? You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what it is? Because you hear him say, I'm not a bounty hunter anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. So it'll be very interesting to see that. But you know what? I'm hopeful that we get a better, it continues to get better as opposed to getting worse, right? So it did improve. So let's see what happens next week, which, when that one comes out, we won't be back next week. We'll be back the following week to review both episodes. Episode 3 and 4, and then we'll complete the series with episode 5 and 6 when we get to that point. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any closing or parting thoughts before we end another great episode of the House of Fandom?
Tank, to you. My closing thoughts, no. I mean, like I said, overall, not bad at all. It was an experience. I'm a fan, so I'm going to watch it, but, hoping for the best with it.
And Tank, any closing thoughts on anything? Anything you want to plug or anything you want to talk about?
Anything I want to talk about? No, nothing to plug. Just like I said, just keep checking us out here at House of Fandom. Like,
absolutely.
share, subscribe.
That goes without saying. Yep. Don't forget to make sure that you hit that like button if you like what you're hearing. Hopefully you do. But also, if you've taken time to listen to us and haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the House of Fandom. We're continuing to grow, and we appreciate the support that we're getting. We're just a bunch of guys that love pop culture. We love fandom. We love movies. We love all the things that are out there in the streaming world as well. So hopefully you guys will continue to come join us and come to sample the stuff that we have. And don't forget, we're also on the TikTok as well at House of Fandom 1. And we got a lot of products and a lot of content that I put out there. I know.
You selling stuff, man?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm not selling anything yet. We're not selling House of Fandom shirts yet. But you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. But yeah, we put a lot of behind the scenes stuff there. That's mostly like if you're looking to see like rare behind the scenes footage of movies, trailers, things like that. That's where you can find it in our TikTok, or TikTok as they call it. But anyway, everyone that joined us, thank you so much. Yeah.
big by everyone else.
Danny, Dave O'Donnell, Vic from the Comic Track Book House. If you guys have some time, they're actually on live now. Go check them out as a little nightcap before you go. They have great stuff. They always do a review of comics, and they do a contest, Mortal Kombat style, when it comes to judging comics. It's pretty cool with the whole Mortal Kombat theme and everything. And then for everyone else out there, thank you for joining another episode of the House of Fandom. I'm your host, Clark, and I'm joined by Tank and Spike, my two amazing co-host extraordinaires. And let's give a shout out to Tank, who got himself a brand new mic. He got a big boy mic now. Woohoo! Yeah! Anyway. I am extra.
Unbelievable right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Clark is very excited. He's up to 1,000 followers on his OnlyFans page. Check him out, onlyfans.com/SuperClark.
Oh, Lord.
Support my brother, man.
Tank, before we go, we actually had him in the beginning of the show, the music, and at the end of the show. For those of you that tune in and wondering what the beats are coming from, who do we got in there and who's providing us with those amazing beats?
Beats coming from my boy Joel Torres.
All right, well, let's close it out, boys. Everyone, wherever you are, morning, noon, evening, have a great day, have a great middle day, and have a great evening. And thanks again for tuning in to House of Fandom. Good night.